And we call the January 11th Planning Commission meeting to order at 6:35. Here comes his truck. That worked. Now we'll take a brief delay while he walks across the parking lot so everybody's up to speed.
But the mics are on.
Okay. Bless you.
There you go.
If you had it, I'd still be sitting next to you. I'm not worried. I'd rather have that than this one.
Oh, yeah. My daughter just recovered.
Got the flu once and I had it really bad. That's COVID. It was 6 hours of symptoms,
Okay.
then a vacation.
First order of business.
5 days off.
Application number 23-005, Hillsdale College, 732 Hall Hill Road, Summers, seeking a modification of special use permit condition number 4 to allow Hillsdale College to hold one special event at the Blake Center each year, complying with all existing requirements set forth in condition and approval of number 4.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Ms. Roy. My name is George Schober. I represent Hillsdale College. With me is Laban Duke, who is the Executive Director of the Blake Center of Faith and Freedom, which is the Summers branch of Hillsdale College. Would you prefer that we come up, or?
That'd be fine.
Excellent, thank you. So we were before you may remember, it was last March, and we asked for, and we ended up revising, getting the zoning commission's okay to revise the conditions of the special use permit. And one of the conditions that was revised sort of revolved around number 4, in that Hillsdale was granted a one-time large event that initially was going to be a thank you to the Blakes, but unfortunately Presley passed away before Hillsdale could put the thing together because during COVID everything was stalled.
Yes.
And so one of the modifications we sought was to allow, it was supposed to occur I think by mid-July of this past year, 2023. And one of the modifications was to allow it to occur before the end of August, I believe, was the modification. And the big bash was held on August 11th of this past year. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And what we're seeking, though, now is to modify the special use permit to allow one of these big events per year. And we would request that all of the conditions that the zoning commission put on these the large event would remain in place. And I don't know if you have, this is from the original special use permit approval, and it has all of the conditions that Hillsdale is required to meet for this large event. And you'll see it's a significant list. But I'll give you a chance to take a look at that before I continue.
Any questions from the commissioners on what's here? So basically, the big event
Did the event once, and I'll have Laban explain a little bit about the event. There were no complaints. There were 466 people. Why don't you?
Yeah, 460 people came to our event. Tents set out, EMS, and police presence available. complaints from any neighbors, none that we received and none that the town received. Due to our event before sunset, sunsets out.
And what occurred at the event, Laban?
We had several speakers. So our president gave a talk, and we also had Molly Hemingway, who's nationally recognized journalist, give a talk on the current state of journalism. We also had a feature inside of Monticello where we displayed patriotic artwork, so people could get some hors d'oeuvres and walk around the state dinner.
And there was no charge for this event, correct? So this was not a commercial activity. This was under the religious use of Hillsdale. There was, I presume, there was
yeah, we had a guy
clergy there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he prayed too hard, but you know, we'll fall too far.
And so parking was done how?
So we did off-site parking. We worked out an agreement with St. Luke's Orthodox Church in Massachusetts, utilized their parking lot, and then we had overflow parking on our property across the street from no one on that holiday.
And now condition number 4 requires you to work with the Summer Zoning Enforcement Officer and let her know what was going on. And did that occur?
Yep.
And
It did.
okay. And so to your, I guess, Ms. Roy, were there any issues with the way Hillsdale ran this?
You know what I started to explain before the meeting started, just because in general conversation, but I was actually able to attend the event, which gave me firsthand, experience as to how it was handled, and the overflow parking was handled great. When I drove up Hall Hill Road, you wouldn't have even known that there was an event until you saw the tent, the food tent, and the other tent was down in back, and it was well organized.
And there were no bar fights or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I left before that could happen.
We even took pains with the AV company that we hired to direct the sound into the building, such as to dampen it. So we were taking.
Yeah, when you were out front, I think something was going on in back when I arrived, because I arrived a little bit, later than the beginning of the event, and it was not.
And so when Hillsdale was before the Zoning Commission for its original approval, some of you may have paid attention to what was going on, but there was some trepidation from townspeople as to what was going to occur here. It was, there were lengthy public hearings and there were a lot of concerns. And I think that the reason for this one special event was nobody knew. Well, we knew on our side of the table, but townspeople did not know, and the Zoning Commission did not know what kind of neighbor Hillsdale would be. But those of us who knew Hillsdale College and knew how Hillsdale operated in Michigan and in other places were fully aware that Hillsdale was not coming to Summers to create a problem. And so we agreed at that time. We worked out, the town had 2 lawyers, its regular attorney, Carl Landolin, and then a special lawyer for the religious use aspects was hired, and we worked out an agreement whereby this was one of the conditions that everybody agreed to. And so now we're back and we're asking for this to be allowed every year. And we don't necessarily think, I don't believe, that we necessarily need permission. As a religious institution, I think Hillsdale is entitled to hold these events. But that's not the way Hillsdale operates. We're here to ask for permission because we would like to work with the town and do things the right way. And so rather than just say we can do it and do it, it's not how we operate. So we're asking for this, and we think it's a reasonable request. Laban, I presume that the events in the future would be the same sort of events.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of Hillsdale's, standard procedure, and you'll appreciate that there's enough standards in any educational institution that we try not to deviate too much from the way things have been set up. So this is the same kind of logistics that we use. We might refine and improve some things, but we certainly wouldn't, seek to make a move backwards and do things worse than we did them the year before. So the only thing that we have on the docket is to make some improvements to make it even more efficient.
So, and I'd ask Ms. Roy, have there been any complaints at all from anyone regarding any of the Hillsdale activities?
No, I haven't heard anything from anyone.
So that's what we're here for. We think it's a reasonable request, and we hope that you would report positively to the zoning commission, or obviously answer any questions that you may have.
So is it a positive referral back to them?
Got a motion?
There's a
Well,
public
wait, I have a
hearing.
question. So, just out of curiosity, because I'm in higher ed myself, who attended this? Are these people from all over the country? I don't need a list.
Mostly local, so 75% were local from either New York City Metro or Boston Metro or in between.
Okay.
Supporters of Hillsdale. So in this immediate area, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, you're looking at 1.9 million people that subscribe to the school's monthly newsletter. So that was the pool of people that we invited to attend. Now, obviously, some people they
All 1.5 million didn't show up?
no,
Thankfully.
not exactly. Though it obviously depends on the speaker, but we had a reasonably attractive speaker and a topic that was ripe for the gathering. So yeah, I think we did pretty well on the attendance. Our goal was to hold beneath 500 because we needed some time to source and get the speaker. So part of the restriction that also is sort of important in this is that if we were to host more than 500 people, we'd be subject to the mass gathering permit. So one of our goals on this was to cap that below that amount. But we ended up following most of the procedures required by the mass gathering permit anyways. Because 460, 500, it's not over, but who wouldn't want EMS close if something happened? Who wouldn't want police presence, close if something were to happen? So we ended up following those anyways, and we would going forward. But yeah, that's the pool of people. To answer your question more directly, that's the pool of people that we advertise this sort of thing to.
One other thing we should state, and I believe we mentioned it probably last time we were here, is Laban lives basically on premises. He's in the next house over with his family with 9 children
9
now?
kids, yeah.
And so he has a direct interest in maintaining things
I'll
out
get calls
there.
from my wife if we're too rowdy. So it can't happen.
Anything else we can answer?
Yeah, I would make a motion.
Motion for positive referral back to zoning on application 23005, Hillsdale College.
Cut and
Biggest.
paste.
Huh? Yeah.
Cut and paste.
Cut and paste.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, application number 24001, Summers Mountain Properties LLC, 359 Summers Mountain. Summers seeking a modification of the 12/24/2000 special use permit for outdoor recreation and accessory private events to allow the use of temporary event tents. Okay. Are you here to speak on?
Not on behalf, we'd love to speak
Yeah,
against
it's
it.
not a
We don't
public
know.
hearing.
Not a public
Right.
hearing. I was asking, are you here to present your side of this? No.
No, this is Ken Pryor, my client.
Oh,
We're-
okay.
we're
No,
I'm sorry. Ken.
typically opposed.
So they're observing.
They're observing.
I will, I guess Murdochs aren't here. I
Is this
guess,
on the winery?
yeah.
Yeah.
I can explain. I don't think they came even to the zoning meeting. So zoning received, on Hillsdale, they're gonna have a public hearing in February. On the second application that we just received, we received the application and zoning scheduled a public hearing for March, so that they're on separate nights. So I guess if you felt you did need an explanation from the Murdochs, from the winery, you could call them back in February. But basically, there's
they
been a
want-
lot of activity since the winery opened, and a lot of review and a lot of exhibits provided to the commission and to myself as CEO and the town attorney. From all of that, recently the town attorney and I in-depth reviewed a court ruling from, I think it was 2006, about tents from when Boulier owned it, and the court ruling said you can't have tents on the property. So I issued a violation notice. I don't think it was a cease and desist, but a violation notice stating that after careful review, you cannot have any event tents on the property according to this court ruling. So They appealed that decision, it went to the ZBA, the ZBA upheld my decision and said you can't have tents. Now we have a modification application to the Worthington Pond, the recreation and accessory like weddings and events, that permit. They would like to modify to allow event tents, temporary event tents for 48 hours at a time only. You know, put it up, have it down within 48 hours later.
Do we have language on event tents? I thought we did.
Language,
Zoning language on the use of special event tents
no.
for.
No, we have language in our zoning regs about temporary events
Okay.
For commercial properties, but no definition
Of tents.
of tents.
Okay.
They did get approval, a modification of their winery permit, which prohibits them from having a wedding when the winery's open. So their recent permit that they got for the winery, they can have canopies, like, you know, you can go with your easy up 10 by 10 and sit under it and have wine. This has to do with the accessory corporate events.
I mean, the tents thing there
Weddings.
sounds similar to what the state does with the state forest. You can pop up, you know, those little 10 by
Yeah.
10 tents.
Yeah.
You cannot put up
Right.
anything bigger than
Right.
like 20 by 30.
Yeah.
What was the reason for the court ruling?
Well, the court ruling, I was not around at that time, but, and I didn't bring it with me, the actual copy of it, but Dan Roulier, I think he originally wanted to put up a tent and leave it up all summer. You know, a
So
larger
I seem to recall that. I think
tent.
I was around.
And
Yeah.
the court, the verbiage in the court ruling was about discussions that the zoning commission, who was on at that time, discussed that would expand the use beyond what they wanted to allow. You know, having a little wedding or having a bridal shower and such. It was different. The main use was supposed to be outdoor recreation. So the court's interpretation was that, you know, no tents were allowed. That was, you know, my interpretation of reading the court ruling. So it's gone through every step up to the ZBA.
So
you
with
know.
our zoning regulations, anything that is not specifically permitted is prohibited, is the language we have. Is that,
Correct.
my understanding is still correct on that?
Yes.
So if we don't say you can, we are in effect saying you can't.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, it is a temporary structure.
Right.
I'm not an attorney. If you want
No,
the
no, I'm
attorney
not.
to- if you want the attorney to come back,
I mean, I think.
they are put up in
I don't know
around
what
town.
the thought of the commission is. I think, where are you guys?
So when we put up temporary tents at Eastern, the big ones, but they have to be inspected by the fire marshal, there's electricity there, I mean, it's a very expensive thing to do. Is that the same, would the same rules apply?
Oh, yeah. The same rules do apply.
Okay.
Those rules apply.
I mean, we can ask for more information. We can
I mean, you can
take
ask-
a motion for or against.
Right. Or for the applicant and their attorney to come, you know, give you a presentation if you'd like. Like I said, the public hearing is not until March.
What's the mind of the commission?
So, is there something I'm not seeing, other than they want to put up tents for 2 days and take them down with all of the regulations that go? What am I missing, Brad?
I think what,
Nothing.
I'm not sure how much there's been a change in the use there. I mean, Goyer's thing was recreational. This is a winery that has a number of ancillary things that they do to promote the winery, including serving wine and food and such.
This is only for, this request to the zoning commission is to allow those event tents when they have a wedding. When they have a wedding, the winery tasting room is supposed to be closed.
Okay.
These were the steps that I had to take, that we have clear cut answers to what is allowed there and what is not. I don't know how many weddings Dan Rulier had. I don't know how many times he had a tent up or not.
Right.
Obviously,
So he did
What are they
have-
doing currently for a wedding if they can't have a tent?
well, I don't think that this was just issued, I think, in October,
So no,
November.
that makes
This was
sense.
recent, September, October, November. Again, I was not on staff back when Rulier got his original special use permit, and it's,
It was.
It's
equally-
kinda vague.
It was equally controversial in terms of the
But he
use
did
and
get
what
but
the
their
it's
special
supposed to
conditions,
be, and-
their conditions were vague.
Yes,
So this is why now
that we're trying to make
I'm
them
left,
not
the
vague.
ZBA is left, and the zoning
Still
commission are
have a
left to
tent.
interpret
Wasn't
what exactly was meant. And
So
what was
earlier
said.
still got the tent, just not permanently, it was just 48 hours.
He would, yeah,
Right.
when he had a wedding or
When
something.
so he did have a
cake
wedding,
breakfast.
48 hours, come down.
I know he had a couple other fundraisers just from hearsay, you know, like a pancake breakfast or something, but,
Trying to think, have I seen tents up at like the nights and things like that? Is that
Yeah.
come under the category?
I mean, I don't know, I'm not here on the
Yeah.
weekends, I know they have a pavilion there.
Well, I know they have a pavilion, but I recall seeing like white tents.
I remember seeing the white
Around.
tents there.
Now, that doesn't mean they followed the rules, right? I mean, you can pop in, have an event and do something and, you know,
I mean,
if you
really,
not
I
get
think
caught, you're
when you say
good.
the rules, I think that's the fire marshal,
Yeah.
and I think that's the tent company
Right.
setting up the tent has to
Right.
have that.
But in
proper
terms of
inspections.
whether or not it's permitted by zoning to throw the tent up there, that's not something a lot of people would explore. If somebody hires you to put up a tent, you go in and put up the tent, you get the fire marshal to come out and say, you know,
Right.
your electricity is grounded. Nobody's talking about what the zoning regulations are in that
Right.
conversation, I don't think.
I mean, they are used in other places in town.
Right, I mean, if I was thinking about doing weddings outdoor anytime during the past year,
You have to.
I might think about a tent. Drier years, that might not have occurred to me, but I'm not great on planning ahead. I mean, they're allowed to have weddings.
So this is not a.
As an accessory to that.
As an accessory to the operation,
Under the
we
2,000.
are allowed to have weddings and those sorts of events.
Yes.
And what they're asking for is to put the event under some sort of shelter.
So we're not actually.
Right.
So you're not stopping the people from going to an event or a wedding or
Yeah.
having one.
Right.
So
So
it's
the
just
question is whether or
something-
not they are
I-
wet or dry during the
I-
process.
Yeah.
In terms of how the.
You're gonna have the
permit-
people there anyways, whether you have a tent or not, right? I mean, you're not
I mean,
prohibiting the.
it would seem so. It might be difficult to get people to schedule a wedding when you tell them if it's going to be rain or shine, please bring your own umbrella. I
Right.
mean, there is sort of that aspect of it in my head, but.
It's not cheap to get those tents.
But they are permitted
It's
to have
not.
weddings.
It's like
Right.
40 grand for when we get one. But we keep
No,
it.
yours is big.
It's
Bunch-
huge.
Yes.
But that's what they're talking about here, not just the.
I don't
If you're having a
like
wedding,
a
it's a-
graduation at,
it's a
you're at
big
Eastern?
Yeah.
Yeah, graduation at
Yeah, I don't think it's
Eastern
the size of
versus-
Eastern.
Just for like events, we have graduation indoors,
Mm.
so.
Do you guys want to hear a presentation? Do you guys want
I
to make
think
a motion?
I think we're good. I positive referral back to zoning application number 24001, Summers Mountain Properties LLC.
My second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Any old business?
Nothing right now.
Okay, minutes approval, you and me.
Pat. Do you need to look at them? 'Cause
I got 'em right here.
Oh,
Okay, you and I were there, so.
Okay.
You move, I'll second.
Move approval of minutes forward.
I'll second. Any comments or concerns on the minutes?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have the other motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you.
And